On many occasions, we've talked about the process of telling the truth, leading to the possibility of feeling seen, leading to feeling accepted, and then loved. So it starts off with truth, and then seen, accepted, loved. As we all, including our children, tell the truth about ourselves, we create opportunities to be and feel seen, accepted, and loved. Most of us make that process impossible from the very beginning by hiding the truth about ourselves. We avoid describing our flaws. We hide our mistakes. We deny our fears, which temporarily makes us feel safe superficially, but then we can't feel unconditionally loved. As parents, often we eliminate the process of truth, seen, accepted, loved for our children by not seeing and accepting them, after which there ain't no love. And this brings us to the critical first step of loving, which is listening to a child. Imagine, what a thought. We don't do that very well. We tend to change the subject introduced by the child because, after all, we're the all-knowing parent. Let's look at an example of how we don't listen, just one of tens of thousands. Your child enters the room in a rush, describes how his sister is playing a video game and won't let him join. And then he shouts, certainly a crowd favorite for many of us, "It's not fair." Well, what you say next determines whether your child feels listened to. You might say, and we commonly do, "Oh, it's not that bad." Did your child come into the room and ask you if the injustice was that bad? No. So you changed the subject because you answered that question. You didn't respond to what the child said. Or you say, "Well, it's your sister's turn right now. You'll get your turn." Sounds good, but did your child ask you whether he would get a turn? No, the subject was unfairness. So you changed the subject again, and we do it all day with them. So what's the big deal about this? Your child just spoke to you, and you changed the subject to something else, something other than what the child said, as though your child hadn't spoken. To put it bluntly, when we don't truly listen, when we don't see and accept our children effectively, they disappear. They're not there. We make them vanish. We disappear them. Guess how that feels to the child? I've seen several movies, and you probably have, where the main character dies but continues to mingle with the people that he knew in the form of a spirit or ghost or whatever, depending on the beliefs of the writer, I suppose. In every case, the dead person tries to communicate with others every time by talking, touching, yelling, moving objects, but nobody can hear him or feel him because he's a spirit. The overwhelming feeling of the main character every time in these circumstances is profound loneliness, coming from being surrounded by people, but people who can't see or hear him. He has effectively disappeared. And this is how our children feel when we don't see and accept them. Disappeared by us. So what can we say to indicate that we're listening? Let's try it. Your son enters the room with the same complaint, shouting, "It's not fair." So now let's try some genuine listening, seeing, and accepting. You might say something like this, just to give you an example, not to tell you exactly what to say. "James, it really is unfair. Your sister does seem to take the controller more than you do." Or, "Unfair? It's way worse. It's just wicked. I'm thinking maybe we take her outside and give her a good beating. What do you think?" So what are you doing here? Agreeing with your child's overall sense of what justice is? No, your child's not that stupid. With your tone of voice, your child knows that you're indicating that you understand his point of view. Whether it's right or not, you listened. Watch your child's face if you respond like that. He'll be amazed. I've watched children just break out in laughter at feeling understood and sometimes even seeing the ridiculousness of their complaint. It's the seeing, the accepting. Then, after your child knows you understand, that you see him, You can teach him something. There are many things you could teach. Doesn't really matter much which one. Some possibilities of what you might say. One, yes, James, sometimes individual things or moments are unfair. Sometimes things can't be equal all the time, which is usually the child's definition of fairness, or more likely they get what they want. So, but you keep going. You're right. Moments can be unfair, but overall you can make things fair enough by talking, acting, or asking, speaking up, working things out. But complaining never works, ever. So just come and talk to me and we'll work something out. As long as you're speaking, not complaining. Complaining makes it impossible. Or another thing you could say, possibly with an older child. Yes, you're right. Things really can be unfair. But that's only if you think of things turning out equal. Real fairness, real justice is that you get consistent consequences in the form of peace and happiness for how you choose. If you choose to be kind and loving, for example, you always get happiness because it follows the laws of happiness, whether things are equal or not. That is fair. The universe's or God's idea of fair, according to the laws of happiness. That's the ultimate justice. If you're angry and complain, you'll always be unhappy. And that's fair too. You can do this with children, some version or mixture of the things I just said. You can teach justice to children from age 2 all the way through advanced adulthood. Listen to your children first. Don't make them disappear. It's a great blessing we can offer them. A life-changing miracle, really.